Focus RS, and shortly myself in my Volvo Polestar. But we're going to do a little comparison review right now. The first thing, since we are on a backcountry road, is we're going to talk about daily performance and when you go for those drives, so what those experiences are like. So driving it on a mountain or canyon road versus driving it on the street. Neil, how would you say your Focus performs in both categories?
Well, since we're on the mountain road first, we can talk about that. I think the car handles amazingly. Not only because you have the traction of all-wheel drive, which is the obvious advantage to, say, the Focus ST, which is what I used to have. The chassis is just amazing. It's so well balanced. It's stiff where it needs to be. You have the option of changing the dampers to a stiffer setting in the track mode if you want that extra bit of stiffness. But I, of course, have found, as a lot of people have said in other review videos, is that's not really necessary. I think the dampers in their normal setting are just fine, and that's all the stiffness you would need for even a road such as the one that we're on now. I have a bigger rear sway bar, the Steeda rear sway bar on this car, so it gives me a little more flatness and it gets my back end around a little bit easier on some of these tighter turns. I've never taken it on a track to experience that, but
Not yet.
But I found it helpful on these twisty back mountain roads. You know, canyon carving is what this car is really made for anyway, is tight turns at high speed, and having that rear sway bar just really helped. It really helps tighten up the suspension in the back. It keeps the whole car a lot more planted. I think it's great, and I have no complaints. Like, I can't think of anything I would do to this car. I have Mountune lowering springs on it. I can't say, you know, it's probably a marginal improvement on, you know, preventing body roll.
I think it's more for ride quality,
yeah,
actually.
It is a ride quality improvement, but even, you know, I'm going slow speeds right now, and it's just like stock. So from that perspective, it's pretty much the same. But overall, the chassis is great. I mean, as anybody who owns the car will tell you, it's just amazing. It's amazing to feel. There's a lot of feedback where it needs to be. I think Ford really improved the driving dynamics from like the Focus ST and probably from the Fiesta as well. There's more feedback in the wheel, in the different driving modes that you have that makes the steering wheel stiffer. So normal everyday driving, it's pretty loose, pretty easy to steer, but I have it currently in sport mode, and it tightens it up just enough to really improve the overall feel. Helps it be a little less twitchy when you're making those high-speed turns.
So then, what would you say your fun factor is with driving the car?
I'd say the fun factor is, well, since I have it tuned on ethanol, it's obviously just the raw torque. I mean, having all-wheel drive, it's instant. You don't have to worry about wheel spin. I don't drive like that on everyday city driving. I mean, I live in San Diego, and inner city San Diego driving is pretty horrendous. So you can't drive like a maniac. You just can't. I mean, sometimes you want to, you just can't. So I would say just the overall power, being able to come up here and just opening the car up, it's great. And there's plenty passing power when I need it to be there. So when I go from, you know, mountain back road to city driving, everyday driving, you sort of don't need the amount of capability that this car has.
So you turn up here.
There's a lot of power in stock form without a tune. I think that's plenty for city driving. So talking about city driving, this car, because it's so stiff, it can be a pain. If you are not on a perfectly smooth road, the suspension is pretty harsh. Even in just, you know, turn the car on stock settings, no sport, no anything mode, it's pretty rough. And a lot of people complain about that, but I mean, that's what you get. You have to go into buying this car knowing that. I think it's pretty fun. I have absolutely no business ever switching the dampers into the track setting. It's just brutally harsh. It's kind of comical how much you lift off out of the seat if you're not on a perfectly smooth street or road. But overall, I mean, for everyday driving, there are a lot of nuances, like with throttle tip-in and just getting through like slow speed maneuverability. It's fine. A lot of people complain. I mean, I do have complaints about the steering, or the turning radius rather. The turning radius in this car is pretty silly. It's got the same turning radius as a Chevy Silverado, so you have to kind of, again, know
one particular thing about the vehicle in itself that you don't like, whether it be driving it every day, there's being something about it, maybe the attention it grabs?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the harshness that I mentioned, it's kind of funny. I tell people all the time, this car draws a lot of attention, and most of it, I mean, I'm a pretty subtle driver. I'm in my 30s now, so I'm not always driving like a maniac, but people want to mess with me all the time. I mean, any kind of car. And sometimes that's cool, but it's getting old. I've had the car for almost a year now, and it's starting to bother me. Like, I get people coming up to me, like, just will wave or something. That's cool, that's fine, I appreciate that. But I got Civics trying to race me all the time. I have Scion TCs, I have motorcycles, I have trucks. Like, people know what this car is, or people who do know what the car is, always try to mess with me, like anything. And that's getting really old. Sometimes I just want to, go to work. Sometimes I just want to go home. And it's always kind of...
there's no off switch.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I want to be invisible. In this car, you're not invisible. I mean, for people who know what this car is, it does draw a lot of attention. But at the same time, I have a lot of people of all ages, of all, motorsport enthusiast levels, who will see me at a gas station and ask me how I like the car, or say the car is really cool. And, I appreciate that. I'm not really the type to look for attention, but the car gets it. It comes with the territory.
So with that being said, let's enjoy the next bit. So what we're going to do now, we are on a closed course. We're going to do a timed run with the Focus RS with Neil and myself. Neil's going to go first in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And during this closed course, to make it as realistic as possible, we're going to stay on one side of the road as best we can. If we cross the line, that is minus a second.
Good stuff.
This is ridiculously fun. He has not passed the line at all. Once we come up to the yellow sign, that will be our finish line. And there it is, 56 seconds dead. So we're gonna go back, and I'm gonna do one myself. 56 seconds, pretty well. We don't know how well that is. I think it's pretty impressive. That's the first one.
Yeah, so we've never done this before.
Yep.
All right, Peter's time run in 3, 2, 1, start. Ooh, that's fun. Getting thrashed about.
Trying to remember where that turn was.
Right. Last turn. And you got 54.4.
Woo!
So about a second and a half better.
Car is quick. Now time to do it all over.
In the Polestar.
Yeah. So 0 to 60 to 0. One, two, three. Let's see who won. That was really close. Oh my god, it's a tie. It's a dead tie.
Pretty good.
That's on. It's on head and floor. Off, off, off. My car. My V60. There we go. Now we're all good to go. It's like a computer game putting in all the cheat codes.
Game Genie.
Honestly, that's sometimes what I feel about this car. It feels like all the cheat codes you need to be able to make it do what you want. But we're in the Volvo V60 Polestar right now. Still, again, fairly stock. Only thing that's been added to it are stickers. So, you know those stickers, they get you 10 horsepower per sticker. So it's got an extra 40 horsepower right now. No, currently I did dial it in so that way we are on the track suspension setup. So the rear is a little bit stiffer than the front now, using the Olin suspension, adjusting it by hand with its golden knobs, as well as putting a little bit of extra air into the rear tires, running 40 psi versus 38. Not a huge difference there. But then also, I'm running 95 octane, so the difference between 91, which we get here in California, and a 95 octane, supposedly 93, but I wanted to be certain. So, jumping out of Neil's car, the feel of the road is not nearly the same in this car. Like, what I mean by that is what you're experiencing and how you're feeling the driving. I can feel the road a lot better in Neil's Focus RS than I can in this car, but at the same time, this car is still handling very nicely. It's very comfortable for a daily driver experience, being an automatic in traffic, automatic climate, all those good fancy features. It's, you sit in the car and you drive and you're comfortable, you have no issues with that, and the suspension is very supple with the Olins. Even running 20-inch wheels, it absorbs the bumps pretty well, except for potholes. Week one of having this car hitting a pothole, definitely already went through a tire. That's the one downside I will already admit on this car. I wish there was a little bit more meats on the tires. Maybe eventually I'll downgrade to 19s and get a little thicker tire. But for the time being, running the 20s isn't so bad.
Yeah, you definitely notice, even as a passenger, this car's absorbing the bumps a lot better. It's definitely not as harsh. Obviously, it's the kind of vehicle this is, geared more towards luxury and comfort. But it's great. I mean, you're taking these turns pretty sharply, and it's holding the road really well.
Yeah, for a vehicle this large in size and in weight, running around 3,850 pounds to 3,900, depending on the equipment you have inside, from your spare tire equipment to tools, and how much fuel you have. It's a fairly heavy vehicle, but the way it goes around a corner blows me away for what it can do. It really is a vehicle that is versatile in not only long journeys, maybe family car. That's the one joke that people make fun of me for, is it looks like a family car.
Oh, it absolutely is, without a doubt.
But no, I'm very happy with it. I mean, the steering wheel and how it feels, from the leather to the suede on it, even the feedback you get through the steering wheel. Now, Neil's seats, we're going to talk about seats. These ones, very comfortable. When you sit in it, it's like a lazy boy, I feel like.
Oh yeah, big time.
The Recaros in the Focus RS, they're very firm and they hold you in place, much more dedicated to like a race car seat, where there is no flex in the bolstering. Whereas here, you take a turn, you kind of feel the bolstering give a little bit and you're being squished into it. Where Neil's, it literally holds you in place and it's like, nope, you're not going anywhere.
You and I are not big guys by any means, so...
Correct.
The Recaros and the RS are perfectly fine. A lot of those seats get a lot of complaints from really anybody who's bigger than a 35 waist in men's sizes. That's not us, so I don't have a problem with it, but yes. I think I said this last time, I love these seats. These seats are great.
Yeah, the quality of these seats too, which is in a lot of the Volvo vehicles. They have the same design seating. The difference between the Polestar and everything else is you get that suede, or what they call nubuck material, in the center, and it really softens it up, because at the dealership, sitting in all the different cars, the ones with that suede material really make it so you sink in and it's super comfortable, whereas the other leathers that they're using is a little harder, whereas everything here is super soft to the touch.
Yep. You have it on the door here.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
The one downside with the car costing so much is there's still plastics in places where it kind of is like, okay, well, maybe they could have covered that in leather or something, but everything you do touch, your body literally touches, is covered in suede or leather. And that is probably a very nice thing, because honestly, who touches the dash all the time? And who's got their hands up on the arm window seal when you've got air conditioning because you're in a luxury performance car? So everything you touch is very nice and how it works.
Yeah, functional. It's functional luxury.
Now for the driving dynamics, again, this is the first time I'm going to be experiencing the track setting. So it is a little bit bumpier from what I'm used to. And I'm going to put it over into sport mode and manual. And we're going to play around with the gears a little bit to see how the car goes around corners. And I do know I've got the tumbleweeds coming up in a little bit. But also the power, I feel is a lot more responsive with the higher octane.
Oh, absolutely, it's faster.
Like, and there's no change in the tune, it's all factory tune, just changing the octane. And I have read that people with 93 are getting higher performance gains than the 91s. The tumbleweeds have moved. Whoop. But it handles, again, it's not the same sensation. I actually want to say the Focus RS is more of a fun car to be driving in because it talks to you more. And because of that, this is still fun and engaging, but again, it's an automatic, where I feel the manual is going to be the better experience, especially on the back roads. Usually automatics, newer automatics are a little bit faster when it comes to shifting because there's no delay hitting the clutch and shifting and all that stuff, unless you have flat foot shifting, which a lot of people do, which I was never a fan of. I don't know how you feel about flat foot shifting, Neil.
I had mine disabled on purpose.
Yeah, it's one of those things, if you don't do it right, you can really mess something up.
It's not worth it.
But no, this is definitely one of those occasions where the manual was putting a bigger smile on my face driving that around versus the automatic. But it's still an engaging drive, and I feel the automatic allows you to focus more on the road versus kind of on the side of your mind thinking, okay, I have to shift now. I have to shift now.
Right.
Now, granted, I was in manual automatic mode using the paddle shifters, but there is a Sport Plus mode that takes that all away, which I think shifts faster than we can do because the engineers have gone and programmed it for a track setup. But it's a pretty... That was pretty quick, I'm going to say.
That was quick.
That's the first time I put the foot down with the higher octane as well, just for this occasion, and that was something else.
That was nice.
We're going to do our timed run on our closed course in the Volvo Polestar. We're in Sport Plus mode, traction control is off, and we're in track settings.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. For a car this big, that launch was awesome. That is great.
There's definitely more back end sliding.
Yep. You are not going to believe this.
What is it?
52 seconds.
Oh my gosh. You know, okay. Yes, it was faster, but I'm definitely gonna say I had more fun in the RS.
Yeah.
And I didn't launch the RS.
Yeah,
I kind of gingerly went off.
My launch was pretty awful too, so.
It's so easy to get the launches on this thing. So let me drive down there and it will be Neil's turn. We're going to do Neil's take on the Polestar for our timed lapped run in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, that launch is something else.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is a lot more body roll in this, but still holding the rope pretty well.
I feel like you're faster in this than you were in your Focus.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why.
I think it honestly is confidence inspiring with that suspension.
This is hilarious.
And he did it in, oh my gosh, you were faster than your Focus. 53.12 seconds.
Jeez.
He even beat my time in the Focus.
You know what it is? It's the automatic transmission.
Yep.
I mean, just the time, like, there were times where both of us were kind of guessing what gear we needed to be in the RS.
Mm-hmm.
No guesswork, just drive.
Yep. You just drive and then the suspension absorbs it up. But I feel
great.
like afterwards we laugh more in
Yeah.
this car, but during,
Absolutely.
in the Focus RS, we're laughing during.
Right.
Like, because we're just kind of absorbing it all of what's really happening.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, 53.12, that's...
It goes to show you, I mean, this car is great. It's so much fun to drive. And yeah, it is, I mean, this is the second time I've driven the car, and last time I drove it on 91. There is a huge difference with the 95 Octane.
And the reason,
and the
too, I
suspension.
did that was because Neil's running E30 with his, or E35 with his mixture of fuel of ethanol and 91. So he's got a lot of aftermarket parts from his intercooler, his catback exhaust, his intake, and his wheels, and a couple other small little things.
The
and
intercooler
then,
especially.
So trying to make it as even as possible.
Right.
But it's different in 95 Octane.
Oh,
like,
yeah, this thing's a beast.
it really pulls up top. I'm very happy with that. I'm also happy with your car. And again, we're running pretty similar tires with the Michelin Pilot Super
Right.
Sports. He's running a 235 and I'm running a 245, so there's just a little difference there. But we try to keep everything as similar as possible. And that was something else.
Yeah,
like,
that was great.
Sitting in the passenger seat and seeing you just fly, I'm like, okay, this really does provide you confidence.
And being that I was in the passenger first in this car, I thought I was going to die. I mean, in the back of my mind, I was like, there's no way this car is going to take some of these turns. And as you saw, the first turn I kind of went over a little bit, just that was getting used to the car. But being in the driver's seat, you're right, it is so confidence inspiring, and we're both beaming. It's hilarious. It's an amazing vehicle.
Yes. So in a direct speed comparison, I would actually say the Polestar is the faster vehicle. But in the fun factor, I'm going to lean it more towards the Focus RS because there is that manual engagement. You're feeling everything. And when it comes to a driver's car, that's what you want more. On a daily experience, I think both of us would agree the Volvo has that.
Absolutely.
Just with the comfort and all of that. And for attention getting, that's going to go to the Focus RS because nobody notices you in a Volvo, especially a station wagon. Hence from what I have noticed in my experience. So
Agreed.
It's kind of an even battle. Even our 0 to 60 to 0 time, as you guys have seen, dead even from acceleration and braking. And that was the Polestar on 91 Octane because we did this the week prior. We had some audio issues, so we're here for week 2. But it's pretty even right now, I would say, between the two battles. We're planning a track battle pretty soon coming up for both vehicles to go on track for both of us to drive each other's vehicles and see one, what it feels like, and two, what our times could be. So that's a big thing about driving too. It's not about how fast you can go all the time, but about how the car makes you feel. And I think both cars in their respective platform kind of make us both happy.
Oh yeah, they're both stars in their categories for sure.
Yeah, and with that, we will see you guys next time.